Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to After Hours Gaming League. This is JW Smaw, your host from Team Raytheon. We're continuing the series between Raytheon and Epic. Epic took game number 1 very decisively. Rays taking on Fire Ferret in the PVT. Rays was able to finish off Fire Ferret with some excellent Phoenix Colossus Zealot play. Able to get in and take out a 3-base Terran Bioforce. So game number 2 is going to be between two juggernauts, these two teams. And let's get right into the match. In the upper left-hand corner, playing for Epic as the Blue Zerg is Zeus, and he happens to be almighty. And in the bottom right-hand corner, playing for Raytheon as the Red Zerg. You know him as the, but we all love him because he's great. The Great. So, if you tuned in last week, for all three of you that watch my YouTube channel, you would have noticed that the Great played this exact same matchup against Google in our ace match here last week. In the ace match for the win last week. So the Great is already familiar with the play here. Typically ZVZ, what you're going to see is some Zergling action at the beginning, followed up with some Banelings popping up, trying to do some harass, trying to get to the mineral lines of the opposing player, and then finally finishing off with Mutas, and if necessary you'll go to Infestors, and really the Infestors are there just to slow down the Mutaforce, but really mostly Mutalisks. Really. I mean, that is really the current metagame for this type of play between two Zerg players. Not really much more there to say on that fact. The Great going for his spawning pool first, Zeus Almighty following shortly after. He is ahead with getting his extractor down. It does look like the Great is going to be doing a little bit of scouting here. A little bit different than Zeus, who's using all of his drones for mining. Really needs to do it with that earlier gas there for him. So that's the difference there, really. Zeus is foregoing in order to get a little bit more minerals. That is going to help him get out a couple more Zerglings faster. Now, one thing to note, again, for Zerg, is they have a third resource, and that really is their larva, which really needs to be considered as a resource, not just as a game function. And so both of these Zerg players are going to have to manage that. And combined with the minerals and the gas, the person that manages their larva the best in this matchup will most likely win, simply because they're going to have more units when it's all said and done. A little bit of commentary there. You will notice that we've got Kung Fu Pandas, Karate Guy there, and Epic doing a fantastic job here with their logo, actually getting everyone under the same logo. It's Epic, and that is an Epic logo. Alright, so some Zerglings popping for Zeus here now. Does look like he might be doing a little bit of his scouting using these units. I have to note, I do find it a little interesting that Zeus is a Zerg player. I would have expected Protoss. I mean, Zeus, you see Lightning Bolt, you expect the, God of Thunder to be shooting lightning everywhere, and I feel like High Templar would be a much more effective fit for someone that is going to name himself Zeus Almighty. Maybe that's a play off Bruce Almighty, who knows. Maybe we'll see some Noah's Ark here as well. Alright, so it does look like this game is going to play out more or less as we stated. A little bit of Zergling play here. Zeus is going to be going and poking into that natural. It doesn't look like he's ready to engage. That is because, well, I thought it was because he was waiting for that Baneling nest to complete. However, it is done. Zergling speed was what it was. That is what Zeus was waiting for, was hoping to just poke in real quick. The Great behind on his Zergling speed, it is going to pop right now. So that does allow Zeus to get in and see all of what the Great is doing with very minimal risk. The Great giving chase. Those two Zerglings are going to fall, and so the first casualties of war have been found, and they are Zerglings. Alright, so it looks like the Great is going to be making a push into the natural. The timing on this is pretty good. Zeus, a little bit out of position, has a Baleen nest, but doesn't actually have Baleens down yet. So these Zerglings are going to be able to do a little bit of damage. One Baleen is down, and this should be easily taken care of by the Great, sending in one Zergling to just poke at that one Baleen, and that is the case. So now the Great a little bit outmatched here by these Zerglings that Zeus has just popped. And the Great is going to have to go back and make a run all the way back to his main base. Spinecrawler going down in his natural, and more units going to be popped out there, more Zerglings in an attempt to hold back his blue opponent. Zeus should be building some Baleens here in an attempt to get around those Zerglings, and he does. Two of them go down. Two of them go down for the Great as well. Some pretty typical plays. That Spinecrawler is going to be key for the defense for the Great, give him a little bit more static defense here. He's going to do a little bit of a poke, alright? He is going to see that there are some Baleens. This control is going to be huge here. It will open the door pretty effectively for our blue player. In fact, though, that's not the case. Zeus Almighty losing a huge number of units there, putting the Great in a very good position from a units loss standpoint. Let's take a look at that. Yes, in fact, a 2-to-1 delta here. Zeus Almighty a little bit low on units lost here compared to his opponent. So this is giving the Great a little bit more map control, allowing him to come in and poke. Wow, that was some fantastic control there. The Great losing almost his entire army there to one Baleen. This didn't happen. Able to sneak him away. There, though, in fact, he does lose them all. And so Zeus Almighty right back in it. And now the Baleens, the slow march with the clowns. And the Great trying to do a little bit of a poke. Going to go all the way to the ramp. And boom, pop. A little bit of slime on that Zergling. Alright, 17 and 15. And we still have... Alright, so Zeus Almighty sending some Zerglings down. Going to try and get a little bit more harass going on. The Great spent a huge amount of money droning up at that point. So going to be a little bit caught out of position here from these units. Needs to get some Zerglings popped out. Also really a little bit behind, I should note, on his lair tech. Significantly behind actually from his blue opponent. So Zeus Almighty being very effective in delaying or getting ahead on his tech. That's going to allow him to go to Mutilus much faster than his red opponent. Also getting a third. Alright, so Zeus going for the tech, going for the macro play here. It does not look like the Great is going to see that. He is poking, he is seeing this hold here. But he must be wondering a little bit about the number of units that are about to come poking. So Zeus going to get another poke. And the Great laying down his Spire as well. And the Great just really trying to figure out what to do here. Alright, so we got some Baleens coming in. Big play there by the Great. Taking out Zeus's entire army. This one Zergling going to sacrifice itself for taking out that Baleen. That Baleen is going to get tapped by the Spinecrawler. And that's going to be all she wrote. It does look like the Great is going to see that third base of Zeus. So now he is going to know that he needs to macro up as well. And Zeus Almighty responding in kind with some Zerglings here. This is going to force the Great to get a couple more units in production. 16 Zerglings, in fact. A huge number of Zerglings in order to defend. Spinecrawler getting moved up to halfway between his third and his natural. Good decision there, allowing him to protect kind of that ramp, as well as drag. What he can do is kind of drag the Zerglings of his opponent and bring them back to the Spinecrawler if they engage in the third. Big play here by Zeus, going to push in. The Great has fewer units than his opponent. However, he does have Mutilus on the way. Zeus Almighty not making the transition over. It looks like he's waiting. Doesn't want to give away the fact that he does have that Spire, and he is going for the level 1+1 Carapace. His opponent not going for that. Going straight for the Mutilus, so he is going to be ahead here with his Mutilus. That is going to be able to do some damage. Oh! A huge number of red Zerglings absolutely decimated by that Baleen, that set of Baleens. Ah, man, that must be hurting. That's got to feel pretty smart here for the Great, losing that number of Zerglings, giving Zeus Almighty a lead on, actually, no, but certainly giving him an even force there on the number of units lost. I was going to say the lead on the units lost resources tab. However, that's not the case. The Great's still up by 100. However, now it does look like Carapace is going to finish up for Zeus Almighty. That is going to give his Mutalisk an advantage in a one-to-one fight. However, he has half the number of Mutalisks right now. So really the key pieces of information here are that these Spires are down. These Spires, or excuse me, Spore Crawlers are going to be the deciding factor in this matchup. The Great making a decision here to go after the Extractor. Very good. Trying to get that gas eliminated. He is going to in fact do it, losing almost none of his Mutalisks there. Actually, in fact, I don't think he lost any of them. That is correct. So losing none of his Mutalisks at that point and getting the units lost tab resources more heavily in his favor. Alright, so Carapace, +1 Carapace going down here for the Great. Caught a little bit off guard, trying to kill off a couple of these Mutalisks. And it does look like that third is going to be in a little bit of a precarious position for Zeus. However, Zeus having to bring back his Mutalisk because they can't take on this more larger Mutalisk force from the Great. The Great needs to be starting to poke around here a little bit more. He has the aerial advantage for the moment, but that is quickly going to be eliminated here as Zeus adapts to the new military realities. And adapt he will. Going down for his fourth, they're actually both pretty evenly timed on their fourth base play, so the Great adapting to a little bit more macro style than what he's used to. A good adjustment for him, and he's also keeping his bank low. It does look like Zeus Almighty pretty high on the minerals and on the gas, so might be a little bit larva starved. Doesn't look like it, in fact, though. I should take that back. Not really larva starved, but certainly not utilizing his minerals as well as he could be. Certainly his gas is being dropped down, and now he really needs to scout and see that fourth going down. Does look like he is going to try again for another fourth in a different position. The Great having, I was going to say he's having none of it, but he brings those Zerglings in. I guess he didn't want to scout. I'm not sure why. +1 Carapace is going to be finishing up here shortly, in the next 10 or 15 seconds here for the Great. That is going to put him about even with his opponent, Zeus Almighty. He's going to poke, he's going to catch that fourth again for Zeus. And as Zeus, again, just stuck on 3 base, this is going to give the Great the ability to macro, going to give him an advantage on the economy, but he's got to take advantage of it. Still not dropping down and getting upgrades. So let's look at this production tab. So it does look like a huge number of Mutalisks going to pop for both sides. +1 attack is going to be finishing up here, probably in about 30 to 40 seconds for Zeus Almighty. That is going to give him less than that, probably about 20 seconds. That is going to give him a returned advantage on the Mutalisk play. So for one, it would provide the Great with a better situation. Sending in some Banelings, doing a huge amount of damage there to those Zerglings. And now the major engagement begins. Mutalisks are falling left and right. Let's look at this right now. We are seeing in real time 15 falling for blue, 11 falling for red. This is the engagement. Let's see if they can finish it off or they decide no. And so both of these players decide no, and the window of opportunity for the Great is slowly closing because the Zeus Almighty is going to be getting +1 attack on his Mutalisk, giving him, returning him to some level of normalcy. However, a 10 Mutalisk delta here in the Great's favor, and I'm not sure that he's aware of it at this point. No, it's even more than that. It's 15 Mutalisk advantage right now. Zeus Almighty, if the Great wanted to really make a base push play right here, this would be the time to do it. He is going for that fourth. That fourth is going to fall. Zeus Almighty needs to respond. He either needs to get his units back or he needs to engage this fourth. He decides to go for the fourth, and the Great is out of position to protect this. Banelings are coming in. It does look like the Great is going to be able to get those drones out of the way, so now these Banelings are going to have to give chase, and these Mutalisks are just hanging back. They're waiting. They're waiting to catch his opponent out of position, and Not 100% sure if he's going to be able to do it. The Great is moving back, trying to keep that 4th alive. And he does, but just barely. Now the one nice thing about this for Zeus is it is going to give him some time to get up more Mutalisks. However, the Great just stronger Mutalisk count at this point. So it really is going to come down to these Mutalisks. Ooh, right here, this could be another major engagement. We've got Mutalisk play right now. Units lost, looking at it, huge engagement. 15, 16 units against 21 lost for blue. The Great just taking hits right now, trying to kite his opponent back to his 4th, where he's going to have some sort of defense here. Really just needs to go all in. But in that same vein, Zeus Almighty getting into the natural of his opponent and really doing some damage to the economy. The Great now is going to have to split his APM across 2 locations. Mutalisks are going to be engaged in the natural. This is going to open up his 4th. Zeus Almighty taking advantage of the Mutalisks no longer being at the 4th. Coming in, going to immediately target down that Spore Crawler and is going to go for that 4th base and try and take it out. So the Great went from having 4 bases to really effectively only having 2. And the unit count still in the Great favor right now. He's got way more Mutalisks. He's, what is this? 14 Mutalisk advantage. And he's got +2 Carapace against 1 and 1. So right now, if he wanted to, he could pretty much do some damage. And it does look like he is going to do that. He is going to go and try and take out the natural of his opponent. Also targeting down that Spore. Going to be taking out the mineral line as well. Mutalisk engagement here in the natural. It does look like this is going to be a big one. Zeus trying to kite his units back to the Spore Crawlers. The Great not having anything to do with that. Going to go right for that natural. Really, it's going to come down to this. So both of these players now mined out on their main. Their naturals are both effectively destroyed. And Zeus Almighty really trying to get a little bit of a defense going, but not much. He's avoiding the engagement, really trying to get those Spore Crawlers engaged, and he does that in effect right here. And this is going to be very bad positioning for the Great. He is losing a huge number of Mutalisks right here with that Spore Crawler. Not having that Spore Crawler engaged would make a huge difference for our red player. Going to try and kite out these Spore Crawlers really quick, but taking heavy losses. And Zeus realizing that he needs to protect that line. He is going to be trying to take out his opponent right next to that Spore Crawler. And the question really is going to come down to who can win this out. The Great still has an advantage in Mutalisk count, but I think that those units are a little bit deceptive right now, because I don't think all of those Mutalisks are actually there in the Great's engagement. And he is dealing with a large number of Zerglings in his bases. It does look like the Great is going to be able to take out those last straggling Zerglings. However, this is going to put Zeus Almighty in a pretty decent position. He is, looks like he's droning up on his 3rd. The Great, significantly less resource mining right now. Almost 0. So blue, much more resource going on here right now. Resource mining, I should say. And a little bit of an engagement here. The Great trying to give chase. Very effectively does that. And so the Great needs to be doing some drone damage, and he does that in effect. Huge amount of units lost. The Great not microing his units. The Spore Crawler is going to be able to take out 2 of those Mutalisks, unfortunately, for the Great. And Zeus just kind of chilling in the back, man. Not mining any gas right now. That's not what I want. I want income. There we go. Alright, so it does look like Zeus really going for the mineral heavy play. Getting us around on a queen. Zerglings out on the field. Really switching over to Zergling play. Thinks he has it won in the air. He thinks he's got air dominance, so he's not too worried at the moment. We're kind of going into unknown territory right now. Both of them have been heavily devastated in their bases. really don't have much going on in any of their other bases mining-wise. And this is going to hurt the Great very much so. Right here, Zeus getting the scout, key scout right here. A couple of those banelings are going to go down, but now Zeus knows. He knows that that base exists, and he is going to adapt. So the Great deciding at this point here, he's got 3 bases, but he only has one of them mining, and it's only mining on 3 drones. Now compared to that, Zeus Almighty right now has 11 drones mining at his 3rd. So the amount of minerals that are being mined, as well as the amount of gas, really, actually the gas I think is less. No, it's equal. I should correct that. So the gas is equal for these 2 players. However, the key metric right now is resources, is specifically minerals for the Great. Right now, he is extremely low on the number of mineral mining drones that he has, and that is going to be a huge detriment to him. And we've got an engagement. It does look like the Great doesn't want to make that a real one. He is retreating. He's down to 16 mutalisks. He's getting kited here by, or he's trying to kite his opponent. However, the problem is right now, he is just not in a good position here to engage, getting a couple units sniped off. And his 3rd is going down right now. And I should bring that to you. Excuse me, his pseudo 4th, the last remaining one, getting attacked by a whole bunch of Zerglings and these Mutalisks. There is nothing that the Great can do at this point. He needs to get his drone count back up at his 3rd if he wants to continue this game into the 4th quarter. All right, so that I guess really it's the 5th. I should apologize for being such a poor caster, but really that 5th is going down. And now Zeus just trying to clean up the Overlord spread, trying to make it so that this game is only his and his alone. And I think the Great is a little bit at a loss at the moment on what to do next. Getting +1 attack, so that is going to give him the upgrade advantage. So a little bit of a difference here. We went from Zeus having the upgrade advantage but fewer units to and the Great having almost 15 more Mutalisks than his opponent, to now Zeus having 6 more Mutalisks but not having an attack advantage. At least he does for a moment, but he won't when that +1 attack comes out. All right, so some parallel motion here. The Great caught off guard a little bit low on the micro there, a little bit slow on the take, and he's going to be followed all the way back, almost all the way back to his 3rd base. He has no choice at this point but to retreat. Again, it's the macro play, it's the economy, of these players that is the difference between a win and a loss. I think at this point, Zeus Almighty able to bank a lot more on minerals than his red opponent. Now that being said, it does look like the Great has gotten back. He has droned up. He is at 21 units right there, but I think it's at a little bit of a precarious position for him. He is down 7 units in count in his Mutalisks. He had to do that in order to get his drone count up. He didn't have a choice. And so now Zeus Almighty is going to be able to come in here, do a little bit of damage, make a little bit of a poke. The Mutalisks here, for both of them, making a huge difference on what's going to happen. A little bit of a poke here by the Great into the units that are being created, and a little bit of a poke here by Zeus. I mean, it's a little bit of a stalemate right at the moment. Both of these players playing exceptionally well. A little bit weak on the micro from time to time, but overall, fantastic play here by both. The Mutalisk count not completely getting away from the Great. However, it is heavily favoring Zeus with 29 against 24. Also, the Great a little bit low on his base count. It does look like he's going to rectify that right now. He does, in fact. He's going to take out this 4th for Zeus. Zeus is going to be left down at 1 base again. He has not mined that out yet. And we are going to have to see an engagement here if we're anticipating someone. Zeus cannot let that stand. If he wants to win this matchup, he cannot stay on 1 base while the Great is mining on 2. That is going to give his opponent too much of an economic advantage, and he is going to act in kind and respond to that with an attack of his own. Mutalisk engagement again between these two players, but nothing doing. Trying to poke off one of them, doesn't happen. A couple of those Mutalisks a little bit low on health, and here's going to be a major engagement. Both of them are going to go for it. This is it. +2, +1. But no. And that actually puts, I think, the Great in even more of a precarious position now. He's out of position, his Overlords are way out of position, and they're going to get massacred here by Zeus. Zeus is now in a position to take out the Spire of his opponent. The Great responding in kind, sending out a suicide kamikaze task force of Zerglings. Gonna try and take out the Spire of his opponent. Does look like that is going to happen. Zeus retreating because of that. So something finally got the attention of his blue opponent, got him to come off of it and retreat back, and that Spire is going to fall. Alright, so now that's going to give a little bit of breathing room here for the Great. He is now going to be able to hold Zeus Almighty's unit count at constant. 4 Mutalisks. And so we need to see 11 Mutalisks out of the Great almost right now. And I don't think with 2 Vespian Geysers that's going to be easily doable. He does have a couple other Vespian Geysers that he can mine off of, but it doesn't look like he's doing anything with it. His main still has 2. He's got about 1100 right there. He is trying to go for another expansion, but Zeus is going to prevent that. A little bit of a touch. Ooh, a right click at the most inopportune time. The Great right clicked right into those Mutalisks, and right there that might have been the game. Right there. Those Mutalisks went right into a flurry of blades being spit out of his opponent's maw, and that might have been the end game right there, sealing the deal. Down almost 13 Mutalisks. The Great bad misopportune time to right click, trying to kill off these Zerglings, but now Zeus having the same idea, deciding to go in for a little bit of a blow there, taking out that Spire. And it's going to come down to this, ladies and gentlemen. Both of these teams are trying to starve each other to death. I mean, we're 36 minutes in, and we've been on Mutalisk play for almost 20 minutes of this. These two players, they're not going for the death blow. They're trying to starve and torture. I mean, if this would be like, I don't even want to go. I don't even know what this would be like in real life, but this is painful to watch. No one's trying to go for the death blow just yet. I think they're a little bit apprehensive. There's a lot of respect. I'm going to say there's a lot of respect. I might be completely talking garbage here, but there's a lot of respect from both of these players here, not wanting to commit because they don't know what the other guy has up his sleeve. Does look like the Great is going to take off a couple of those drones mining on the gas, trying to poke. Zeus is completely mined out of his third at this point. The Great getting another inopportune point there, trying to hold on. He's very heavy now on the resource count, and oh my goodness, he goes for the GG. And just like that, with 600 gas banked and almost 1100 minerals, but no Spire to create Mutalisks, the Great falls to Zeus Almighty. So now we know which is better, greatness or Zeusness, unfortunately. I think Epic is sitting pretty high here, having gone 2-0 against Raytheon so far. So stay tuned for game number 3. Belgrat from Team Raytheon is going to be taking on Smaw from Team Epic. And it's all up to Belgrat. Or I guess you could say the alternative, it's all up to Smaw. Smaw wins it, it's game over for Raytheon. Epic goes home with the win. Belgrat wins it, and we keep it alive for game number 4. So thank you for watching. This is JW Smaw from Team Raytheon of the After Hours Gaming League.